Hello, everybody. I'm excited to be here with Kathryn McCusker today. Kathryn, thank you so much for being here.
Pleasure. Great to be here.
I've not actually met Kathryn in person. This is our first time meeting, and I discovered Kathryn because of her incredible music. I discovered you on Spotify, and I often use your music during my classes. And then I messaged you on Instagram, and that's how we started talking. So I'm looking forward to hearing more about you, and perhaps you could share like how you came across the practice of Kundalini Yoga.
Sure. So my journey has been through music and voice, and I am Australian, and I began a career in opera after I finished music at university in Australia, and I sang at the Sydney Opera House for over 7 years. And then I made my journey to Europe, and I went freelance. And yeah, I was running around, traveling around, auditioning, performing, and I didn't have any family in London. And at that stage, I was living with a friend. And so it was all quite new to me, in a way. The city, even though I'd been to London many years ago, the energy, I suppose, and the culture, and being freelance, because I wasn't freelance before, was all quite new. And I remember there was a moment where I had a really bad chest infection, which meant I had to take time off from performing. And I asked someone I'd met if they could recommend a good acupuncturist, because I had always gone for alternative medicine and general medicine, but I was looking for a good acupuncturist. And this woman had mentioned this person who was an acupuncturist who she had gone to help heal cancer. So I went to him, and he arrived at the door, and he was all dressed in white, white turban. And I went, oh, this is interesting, I didn't realize that acupuncturists wore all white with a turban. And anyway, I used to see him regularly. And there was a moment where I was going through some challenges emotionally, and I'd broken up with my partner. And he suggested that I try Kundalini. And I'd never practiced Kundalini, even though I'd heard about it. I'd mainly done Hatha and Yin yoga. And anyway, for whatever reason, I was busy with life and it wasn't the right timing. I didn't go to a Kundalini class in London, but then he was organizing a trip to Mexico, to Yucatan, Mexico. And he said, why don't you come? And he made it sound so inspiring and appealing. And I said, but I've never done Kundalini. And he said, oh, it's not just Kundalini. We're going to be learning about mind teaching. So it's going to be a real sacred experience. And anyway, I had the time, I had the money, and I thought, why not? Because I'm quite a curious, adventurous person. So I jumped in. Didn't know anyone who was going, didn't know anything about Kundalini Yoga really. And there we were in Yucatan, which is, I don't know if you've been, but it's incredible, energetic place, full of temples, mind temples, and really just a very sacred energy there. And I remember this so clearly. I was, this was in when was it? 1998, I think it was, so a long time ago. And we're in front of this temple, Chichen Itza, and that's the temple of Kukulkan. And so it's a very powerful, energetic site. And we were doing this Kriya, which involved the arms up in the air, breath of fire, typical Kundalini Yoga stuff. And I had a very, very beautiful and very strong, powerful experience with it. And I must have been ready at that time. It was just everything aligning in that moment. And I released a lot of emotion and a lot of blocks. And I didn't realize at the time, but I now know that it was a Kundalini awakening. And it was a very beautiful experience. It was very peaceful. There was a lot of clarity and a shift in my vibration. And it was interesting because everyone said to me afterwards that I looked completely different. My face changed. My eyes looked different. I felt different. And, there was nothing mystical about it, but it was something that definitely cleared some blocks and raised my consciousness and my vibration. And just, I think, let a lot of probably some grief, some trauma, and some heavy emotions just kind of dissolve, float away. So it was a very powerful experience. And I remember speaking to my acupuncturist, who happened to be a Kundalini Yoga teacher trainer in London, about the experience. And he looked at me like he knew that I'd experienced an awakening. And I said, I really want to know more about these teachings. How do I do that? Because it left such a profound effect on me. So he said he ran these teacher trainings. And I said, well, I don't want to be a teacher. I just want to know more. And he said, well, start by coming to some classes I do in London, and then see if you want to do the training, not necessarily to teach, but to go deeper into how the teachings work, how you can integrate them into your life. And that's what I was looking for, really, something that I could integrate easily into my schedule, something that was a bit different, because I like different things, and it felt very creative to me. And being an opera singer, I felt the breath work and the sound work really resonated. And I'd never done a yoga practice that integrated those two things so profoundly, so deeply. And I really found it powerful.
Yeah, I can imagine being a singer yourself, how it's drawing on all of these natural skill sets for you, and that it integrates, the sound of our voices, the sound of the music, the chanting. Maybe you could sort of explain that to people who don't know about the practice.
Sure. So I think the two things, as I was talking about then, that make Kundalini Yoga stand out are the powerful breath tools, pranayama. So we don't just use one breath through the nostrils, we use breath through the mouth, we use a very strong, significant breath called breath of fire, which activates the fire element and can clear blocks relatively quickly and really, make you more aware and give you more clarity, more energy. It's very much an energetic practice. I really feel that it does upgrade your energy and your vibration, as well as your consciousness, and the mantra, which I was so not familiar with, so for me, being an opera singer, I trained very young and was a professional very young. I found that really fascinating, going into the science of mantra. These foreign sounds are really like keys that uncode certain parts of the brain, the neuron pathways, using the tongue, the lips, the repetition of sound vibration, the rhythm, the monotone voice that you chant them with. All of that sets up this very intricate sound vibration that, if you do it for long enough, if you're one of those people who has a very busy mind, which I do, it really does take you to a place eventually. Once you repeat for a certain amount of time, it takes you to a place of real clarity and just a place of peace and calm in your mind. So I think mantra is really great for people with busy minds. Mm-hmm. And I feel that the breath work in Kundalini Yoga can unlock so much trauma and emotion and stress within the body. So it's not just those two components, as you know, being a Kundalini yoga teacher, it's asana, so movement, posture that you recognize from hatha, some of them. And then sometimes there's mudras, hand positions, which I really love, actually. I find mudras really interesting. And when I went to Tibet years ago, I recognized that some of these mudras in Kundalini yoga are what the Tibetan monks have been doing, for thousands of years, and you can see them in the temples. These particular mudras, you recognize them from Kundalini yoga. So the mudras, and of course the drishti point, the mental focus. So a lot of it's inward, which again, I thought was really fascinating. Many of the kriyas and meditations are with the eyes closed. And really, we only close our eyes when we go to bed usually. And so I found that really fascinating, that you're looking within yourself, and there's different drishti mental focuses on the tip of the nose, the chin and the heart center. And I found that really fascinating, how that stimulates the optic nerve, how that connects to the upper glands, pituitary pineal glands, the hypothalamus, the brain. And, there really is a science behind it. Everything is working together collectively to create this synchronization between the mind, the body, and your spirit, your energy. And I loved that it felt like it was a total workout. It wasn't just a physical practice, which, so many practices are, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just that I was looking for something deeper and something more transformative and relatively quick, because I'm quite impatient. And so I really loved the fact that you could just get up in the morning and do 10 minutes and feel a shift. I loved that, that you didn't have to spend an hour practicing Kundalini yoga. You could do it in a short time if you were really busy, and it really worked. You could do breath of fire for 3 minutes and find that you had more energy, more clarity, and a deeper connection.
Yeah. And I think actually one of the other things that was coming forwards, there was a real emphasis from, the Yogi Bhajan who brought this yoga to the West on the community. And I think there's all of those components, which is so powerful, but just being together, whether it's 3 people in a room, or on a Zoom room, coming together and practicing, that is also such a healing part of the practice as well, this emphasis on the community.
Yes, and I think that when you live in big cities like London, it's, it can really polarize people. Like, it's very challenging sometimes to come together, to connect. And also, London is such a melting pot of cultures. That's why I love it. But, for instance, when I came to live in London, I didn't have any family in London. I had some friends, but I didn't have any family. And so I was a long way away from Australia. And yeah, what I loved about Kundalini Yoga is that you met up with this group of people every now and then to practice. And, there were people from Spain, there were people from Italy, all over. And you felt part of this global community. And I think that that's a wonderful way to work with people who are all going through different experiences, and to come together collectively and realize, actually, we're not all dissimilar. We have our stories and we have our challenges, and we also have things that through our life that we have to either confront or not, So I think Kundalini Yoga is a wonderful healing modality if used in the right way.
And I think that, sometimes people come to yoga classes and they get led to them. They don't know what they're going for, but they feel like, I ought to include this in my life. Or maybe you are going through something in your life that's traumatic, and you've been told that yoga will be a supportive place to be. And we were talking a little bit at the beginning before we started recording just about how often people in the room are going through something, and whether you're like conscious of it when you enter the room or whether it comes up during the practice. What do you think it is about whether it's Kundalini yoga or other yoga that sort of shifts something within us?
I always say to people, I don't feel Kundalini yoga is a yoga you just kind of dip your toe in. I feel it's quite a powerful practice, and you know, individually and collectively. When you practice together, there's a different sense of energy, of course. And when you practice on your own, you know, there's lots of shifts that can take place potentially. And because this practice is consciously channeling your Kundalini energy, you know, which is like your vitality, it's that pure essence that you were born with, really. And if you kind of work with that consciously and you open to that and you trust, it can have a very positive impact on your health, your well-being, on your whole life, really. You know, you can change perception about things, choices become different, you feel different energetically, you have a different clarity, different consciousness. And yeah, I think that it really does have the potential, if the person's ready, to create more balance. Mm-hmm. Because I don't feel Kundalini Yoga's just about raising energy. I really feel it's about integration. Mm-hmm. And I think there are some misconceptions about Kundalini Yoga, that, you know, you work with raising this energy and you're going to feel really as though you're kind of like floating through life, and, you know, you're above and beyond everything. And that's just, to me, that's nonsense. I mean, I really feel Kundalini Yoga is about integration, the synchronization that I spoke about between the mind and the body and your energy. And once you feel that, I mean, you can really feel very expansive, you can feel very light, you can feel very creative. I mean, I came to Kundalini Yoga also not only to kind of bring more peace and harmony and de-stress, but also I felt I was going through a time when I discovered Kundalini Yoga that I was a little bit creatively blocked. Mm-hmm. And I feel it's a great practice to awaken creativity. And I feel very inspired when I practice. I still do, but I definitely felt when I first came to it that because I unlocked quite a lot within that first experience, I felt very inspired and very creative. It really shifted something within me.
And it has, obviously, because you've created a lot of things to help support people in the Kundalini community, being your music, firstly, which is how I discovered you. And you've also written a book. So did you get that divine inspiration while you were practicing?
Yes, as I said, like when I started to do the Kundalini Yoga, I was so excited about learning more. And I have to say, I really did go through this creative acceleration when I started to go deeper into it and commit to the practice and eventually sign up for teacher training because I wanted to learn more. And at that time, I was singing a lot all over the place. I set up a green tea company. I created mantra meditation CDs, and then I had this inspiration to write a book. I mean, I've always loved writing, but I really felt inspired. So I committed to a daily practice of a meditation. And it was through that daily practice of a meditation that I started to write ideas down for my book. And very interestingly, after doing that for, it would have been about 6 months, I was sent an email by someone at a publishing company, Watkins, saying, Kathryn, I heard that you are a great Kundalini yoga teacher. We're wanting to write a book, someone to write a book about Kundalini yoga for our audience. And yeah, that was it really. I mean, it was synchronicitous, I suppose.
Yeah. What was the meditation that you were doing?
There were several. I actually combined 3 meditations. One was with breath, and the other 2 were with mantra. And they had mudras, one was Satkriya, where you sit on your heels and you chant Satnam with the arms up above the head. And then there was another one that was, I can't totally remember what I was doing with my hands, my mudra, but I was doing very powerful breath work. Mm. And then there was another one where I was just kind of clearing, emptying, and using a mantra. So I think it was the combination of the 3, and I did them for 11 minutes each. So 3 meditations for 11 minutes each. And I did that every day. I decided that's what I wanted to do, commit to a practice. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then I had this publisher contact me out of the blue. I had never met her before. Mm-hmm. And we worked together, and I ended up then going back to Sydney because I met my husband, who's Australian. And I wrote the book. I finished writing the book, which took me almost 2 years. And at the same time, I created a yoga studio, a Kundalini Yoga Studio in Sydney. And at the same time, I got pregnant. So I was doing quite a lot.
A lot of creativity was definitely flowing through you in all shapes.
Totally. And look, I've always been creative. I come from a family where my mother is quite creative. She's a ceramicist and an artist and had a gallery. I always felt that connection to creativity, and being an opera singer, that's a very powerful energy anyway. Mm. And I think Kundalini Yoga just complemented everything. It just kind of put everything in perspective and made me realize you could use your voice in a different way. And it really helped unlock a lot more creativity that I knew was in there, but it just kind of got a little bit, suppressed. And so, it was a very wonderful time to write the book, to create a yoga studio, which had an incredible community, I have to say. And the people that connected in my studio in Bondi are still very good friends, and they've gone on lots of life experiences together. And out of all the things that we did in that studio, which were many, including teacher trainings and lots of events and classes, what touches me most about that time in my life was the fact that we had a very strong community. And that I don't think you can force, that either flows effortlessly or not at all. So it was great. And then, I birthed my child, and my husband and I decided to move to London. And my daughter is very much a Kundalini baby. She has an incredible amount of energy. I think she sucked it all from me, actually. She's wonderful. And she sits and does meditations with me sometimes, and she does yoga. And I feel she's got a different kind of awareness because, I was practicing Kundalini Yoga when she was in utero, right up to when I gave birth to her. And we went to India together. So when I was almost in my final trimester, and I was teaching a retreat in Kerala in the south, an Ayurvedic yoga center, beautiful place on the beach. And, we were doing Kundalini twice a day meditation with a group of people. And I was teaching this group of people, and I was, quite heavily pregnant. And the Indian women, they really revere pregnant women. They really see it as such a blessing. I mean, it is a blessing, of course, but the Indian women really revere, and they're always touching my belly. And, I had these amazing Ayurvedic treatments there because it's a very authentic Ayurvedic center. And people come there for cancer and all sorts of illness to heal. And I remember this beautiful moment where I was lying on one of these wooden benches. The sun was streaming in. There were birds in the trees outside. And I had 3 Indian women in their saris, and they were like pouring warm oil over my belly and chanting. And it was the most beautiful moment. And I think what Kundalini Yoga does, and what we've kind of lost connection with, is this whole sacredness. And especially as women, I feel, because Kundalini Yoga is very much working with feminine energy, masculine as well, but very much this whole idea of bhakti, devotion. And I think that we've lost touch of that a little bit. And, going to places like India, really, inspires me again with those sacred ritual practices that are so deeply moving. And so my daughter had a lot of great energy before she was born into the world.
Oh, I have to say, I felt like I was going to cry when you told me that story. It's so beautiful. Yeah. And I was thinking, it is just so incredible to have a baby and in this community of Kundalini Yoga. Like you say, because it's a place where we really honor these massive shifts that happen in our life. And in my teacher training, one lady was heavily pregnant. We did this amazing, she was in the middle of the circle, and then we had all these rose petals that we put all over her. We all touched her belly, and it's just so gorgeous. And it's actually thinking as well, when people cross over and die, like how we obviously have the chant Akal that we can use. And I did do I did a private yoga class for a friend of mine and her 3 sisters when their mother died, and it was just a really wonderful way for them to be together, to listen to like these sacred music and chants and just cry. And I just feel so grateful to have been introduced to this practice, to be able to share it with people, because it's so emotive. The music is just so powerful. And I think that's probably one of my favorite things about the music and the chanting. Not that I'm any singer and I have a horrible memory for words.
But I don't think you have to be a singer to chant. That's what was so refreshing for me, because being an opera singer, it's always, you're looking for that perfect sound and placement and pitch. And that's what I found incredibly cathartic. The fact that I could just let all of that go, that kind of performing world, and using my voice in such a kind of, classically trained, perfect way, and then suddenly come to chant and just, chant in this monotone voice, and how that created a whole different sensation within my body. I found that incredibly satisfying and revealing. Yeah. But as you say, going back to that experience you had with, sharing the teachings. I've been teaching now for over 20 years, and I have to say that, it can make incredible shifts within people. I've seen people, change jobs. I've seen people heal themselves, with the support of Kundalini Yoga to help heal, trauma, to help support them through cancer. I've had women with breast cancer who have found the teachings of Kundalini Yoga incredibly helpful. I mean, I taught pregnant women, and realized that because it's such a beautiful energetic practice that really allows you to go deeper into yourself and create more awareness, more clarity and connection. I think that, that is what's so touching about it, that you realize that a lot of people don't feel connected. They don't feel connected within themselves, and they don't feel connected to a part of community. They don't feel part of a community. And that can be a very lonely experience. That can be, that can create all sorts of different emotions, fear, stress, trauma, anxiety. And I think Kundalini Yoga really can help with a lot of those kind of heavy, deep-rooted emotions. Teaching over lockdown, during this pandemic, I found that people really saw that connection, even though it was through a screen. It was incredibly supportive. I mean, we did our teacher training over the last year, mainly online. And even still, people found that experience really helped to create a support and a community, when we were all isolating in, our various houses.
I know it is quite remarkable. I mean, I think there's nothing comparable to really being in the same room. I feel like when I actually also did a teacher training during lockdown in prenatal Kundalini, and I suppose the part that I missed was when you go for lunch with people, or you say, oh, have you got a spare pen? Or, those little moments of connection that are outside of the group. But otherwise, it's really incredible that we have this medium where we can be in the comfort of our own homes and still connect with the practice. It completely works still, and it's wonderful that we can be in different time zones, and it can be off-putting. Some people are like, I just don't want to do that on Zoom. But it does still work.
And also the sharing in Kundalini Yoga teacher trainings. I think that, you can also have that to a degree in a public class, and also probably more in a private one-to-one. But I think the sharing in teacher trainings is such a touching experience, because people start to realize they're not alone, that a lot of people have the same challenges. They have the same fears, they have the same stresses, the same pressures and challenges in life. And I think that is remarkable. I think that shared collective kind of weaving of stories and kind of unfolding of truths, really being clear about what it is that's blocking you, and being able to, be fearless in stepping forth and opening to that, can be incredibly healing, incredibly cathartic, and a huge release for so many people. We had a pregnant woman on our teacher training, a good friend of mine, and she's given birth now just recently to a beautiful boy. And she just said how powerful it was to go through teacher training, being pregnant, to be able to share what she shared with everyone in that training. And I think that those moments of connection, of really deep connection and being honest with one another, they become harder to find in life, unless you have friendships where you're really honest and open with one another. Those kind of experiences are becoming more and more rare.
Yeah, it's true, because we walk around with our masks on, if you like, and it's only when we're really in a container that we feel safe enough to really go to our hearts and be vulnerable. And and when we come from that place, everybody feels connected, like you're saying, because we all have the same fears and we're not that different deep down, are we? Yeah.
No, absolutely not.
Well, is there anything else you would like to share, Kathryn, before we wrap up? It's been amazing hearing everything that you've shared.
Thank you. No, just if people are curious to discover more about the practice, then go along to a class, go along to your class. They can come to mine. I'm teaching online with Try Yoga and House of Wisdom. I'm teaching face-to-face. And yeah, if you feel the call, if you feel drawn to experiencing it, just go with that instinct and go along and experience it. Because I mean, I think you can, it's like anything really, you can talk about it and deconstruct it, but really it's about going to experience it, because it is a total, you know, mind, body, energetic experience, Kundalini Yoga. And you're either ready for it or you're not. And it either resonates with you or it doesn't. But you won't know until you try.
This is so true. This is very, very true. And I will also put a link to Kathryn's work under this video so you can see her book and her music. And I just want to say, yeah, I'm so grateful to have met you now properly, and for the music that you've shared so generously with everybody, and your book. So thank you very much.
Thank you. More music coming soon. I'm working on some more mantra projects. So that's exciting. And the hope is to write another book for women, actually. So yeah, stay tuned. But lovely to meet you, and thank you.
You're so welcome. And to everybody watching, thank you. Bye.
Bye.